hearts and no fear. Truth in the mic, let the whole world hear. Stories unfold, voices sincere. Welcome to the place where the real starts here. From life and love to the latest news. Community voices, different views. Breaking it down so we all stay clear. Honest conversations live right here. Speak your truth, let it be known. This is the space where your voice has a home. No judgment here, just real and clear. Real talk with Tamara, the real starts here. Real talk with Tamara. Real people. Real stories. Real truth.
Hello, good morning, you guys, and welcome to Real Talk with Tamara. As you guys come into the chat, please do hit the like button. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing okay on this morning. I know that I am. I always express the importance of hitting the like button because the like button helps to keep the video on the algorithm. So make sure you guys please like, share, subscribe, comment, and all of those things. I know I've been missing in action, but I have been working on my finals and I completed, the last two things this morning. Of course, I've been up early because I do my prayer in line every morning. Make sure you guys please tune in every morning from 7 until 7:15. I'm going to give you all the praying lines number so that you can tune in and agree with us. And it is definitely growing. The number is 978-890-8900. And we're on every morning from 7 a.m. to 7:15 a.m. And we're usually off before 7:15. People tune in and we're off by 7:10 because we come into agreement and then we pray and then we're off. It just starts our day. The code is 061043. You can go on to my Real Talk with Tamara's like page and you can go on to my like page and you'll see I have it pinned up there. Okay. So like I said, I've been missing in action, getting spring semester squared away. And also, just I have other things I've, going on also. Great things though, but mainly school. Also, you guys, I will be posting, you all know that Oxygen/Own Network, they're the same. They came to Memphis last year and they reached out to me about coming and being a part of a show, a crime documentary that they did. And they actually paid me and they came to Memphis last October. And we sat in a mansion in Midtown. And they sent me everything that I needed to study about the situation. And producers were awesome. And it is supposed to air sometime in May. I know it's May. They haven't given me the exact day, but I'll let you know. And also, I was just in a film that my theater teacher for a grade told us to go, and I can't say the name right now because it may change again, but to audition just for a grade for a little film that they're doing in Memphis. And I went and auditioned and got a small part. Okay. And I went and I did that. We were out filming for a few hours just for my little small parts. They gave me the part as of a police officer on a scene. And police officer on the scene. And I was out there all day just for that little part. But hey, it was awesome. So y'all see that I've been very busy. Okay, very busy. Got some more stuff coming up, and I'll let you all know that. But just divine connections and all of that. Okay, because God is amazing. All right, but I wanted to talk about Hernandez Govan blames Young Dolph himself and Keyglock for his own unaliving. And I got to thinking about, I think when, everybody thinks that things are over. And I guess when, people who just kind of generally look at the law from a a set of eyes that just, generally know, just the law is just generalized to them, I guess. They don't they don't and they probably don't really even care to know a whole lot about the law if it does not pertain to them. But this case is yet a unique case, um, simply because, well, we know that Young Dolph was a celebrity, of course, and then the people that was involved in having him unalived and the things that continuously continue to go on. Shout out to OG Jacario. I was looking at his video, okay, and he always does a really good job, right, on when he does videos. But what I thought about was when Govan was saying if Dolph had not been in that car, they would not, he would not have been killed. Of course, he didn't say that day, but we know that it was going to be, um, they wasn't going to stop until they got him because Yo Gotti wanted him out the way. Yo Gotti wanted him out the way even more so than Jook. But because Yo Gotti is the one that has benefited. We see that they took him all the way up after Young Dolph was um, killed. But it seems to me it's lonely at the top. He wish he's gonna spend all that money because he got what he wanted. It just, the feeling is not what he thought it would be, because in the process he's lost just as much as Young Dolph's family, and he stands to lose more because they're not gonna stop until they knock him down, okay? Because they know that he was one of the ones that paid for this hit. I see some of the other ones like Head and all them, they have basically dissipated um in the public's eye. Okay. But I got to thinking about, um, when Paul Hagerman, and we're going to go back to that, did the opening statements. And we're not going to show all of that, but we're going to go back to that. And Paul Hagerman basically already knew what it was. Now you have to understand, Cornelius was brought into this. Cornelius was not around them like that. He had been around because Govan and them didn't just choose Cornelius to do this hit just because he was a crackhead. It's crackheads that walk around Memphis all day, every day. You go down, is that Airways and Lamar? Yeah, Airways and Lamar. It's crackheads in the plenty there. So you don't just go and choose any person that you feel is of caliber, right? You choose somebody that has a track record of being able to do things. Cornelius was quieter with his. He had a history of burglaries and things of that nature, and probably had knocked some people down, which is why they had so much confidence in him. They knew. Okay, I think that's why Govan chose him. He knew that once he got high, he was one of those ones that would do anything. Okay, he had been around these dudes. I think they had started to bring him in a little bit more. Um, once they started to bring him in a little bit more, once they had identified that they were going to use him to do this, and so you get to thinking about, with Trula Mafia, right? This kind of has Govan's footprint and fingerprints all over it. You think about Trula Mafia, who has um, a group of little dudes that was out there committing crimes and committing hits and things of that nature. Why didn't they, if it was just Trula Mafia, they would have recruited from within their group, right? It would have been Devin Burns and Teasy or some of those other ones that want to prove themselves and rank up, okay? But they just so happened to get the one straight drop who Govan was um managing, and outsider Cornelius who Govan was selling pills to. So it has Govan's fingerprints all over this, right? He just happened to get away with it, okay? But the more that I think about it, think about Govan, he you could tell he hated Dolph just as much. He stood to gain just as much, because now I'm not saying that this was Govan, but I was told by a reliable source that there was some money paid that night that it happened. We saw Straight Drop leaving the next day. You know, some money was paid because Straight Drop left with his money the next day when he was getting out of town after they killed Dolph. So that duffel bag that they're saying that this person had full of money, Straight Drop got his part, but it was way more than 100,000. But it was the person who got the money. Well, we know that Yo Gotti paid it. Yo Gotti and probably some more people. Um, and then it was given to Jook to take to whoever Jook was in communication with, and then that person with the big duffel bag with all of the money in it that was way more than 100,000. Okay. Then um Bird fed Straight Drop. Okay, gave him his little 40 and decided that they Cornelius was not going to get anything. Okay. I think people have the issues confused when they feel like Teasy got the money and scrambled the money away. Teasy didn't. Teasy had gotten some type of money. It might have been the other half because I'm told the police, because it was way more than 100. And I really don't, they says Teasy had $400,000 in about 300 or 400,000 in his home when his girlfriend called the police. And I get to thinking about that could have been from something else, because I don't think Teasy actually put his hands on this money. This money was given to whoever um, Jook went and recruited, and then they dealt with the underlinks, which would be Straight Drop and Cornelius. They bird fed Straight Drop and Cornelius, but whoever it was that had that big duffel bag full of money that night that gave Straight Drop his little 40,000 got way more than 100,000. Okay, got way more than 100,000. Because after Jook gave them the duffel bag full of money, then they bird fed the others. Okay, I think that's something that may come back up in the future. Okay. But okay, so we get to thinking about, okay, Govan trying to blame Dolph himself. And when Govan speaks about Dolph, he speaks about Dolph in a tone of, I don't know, he was trying to have some type of remorse, but he's starting to sound soulless again. And you could tell that he had an issue with Dolph. Now, what he did mention was that Young Dolph, what he did mention was that, Straight Drop wanted to sign with either, I believe he said 1017. He either said 1017 and CMG. I think that's who he said. But what he conveniently omitted was the fact that Straight Drop wanted to sign with Young Dolph and was angry that Young Dolph didn't sign him. That's not rumor. When you look at Straight Drop's old Facebook pages, old social media pages, he said it. Okay. He even added Teasy, tagged Teasy into the post. Okay. They was mad that Young Dolph did not sign him. And that could be one of the issues that Govan had, although he'll never admit it, with Young Dolph, is that he went to Young Dolph to sign him and he didn't sign him. I remember a time there was a young man, because see, they used to hang out real tough on social media, which is how the police started to get a trace on a lot of these people that was involved in this. Okay. And one used to come into my chat and he would say, he was real, he was friendly, but I know, the devil wears Prada. Okay. Um, there is no way in the world that Dolph should have had Straight Drop hanging around his camp and he didn't sign him. Okay. And he called himself, oh God, what did he call himself? I can't think of his name right now. It'll come back to me. But I remember I was told to block him. Okay. I when he came into my chat and he hung out and he was pleasant, and I was told block that nigga ASAP, and I did. And he probably made some fake pages, um, but I hadn't seen Trap. I think that's what he called himself, Trap. Okay, and it's all really weird. You know, I don't know what was going on with that, but I was told I had to block him out of my chat. Okay, because evidently there was something that was going on with him that I didn't know about. I was just vlogging, but maybe the police knew. Okay, um, but they called him Trap. Okay, and he was very fond of Kamisha, but he had said you need to. He said that Young Dolph never should have had Straight Drop hanging around him and in his camp, and he wouldn't sign him. See, there's a spirit of witchcraft that goes on in our community. And that spirit of witchcraft is you do what I say do. Even though it's yours, you do what I say do with it, or else I'm going to kill you, even though he give it to him. He didn't give it to him. Okay? He didn't give it to him. The man had the right to sign whoever he wanted to sign. But it's just like a no good Negro that ain't got shit to decide. If you don't do what I want you to do, you don't give it to me, I'm going to kill you. And that's why I don't care about the feds taking their motherfucking asses down. They want to take down the black man. Some of them need to be taken down. Some of them need to be dead, okay? Because they ain't worth living, okay? They ain't worth it. They destroyed their community. And in order for us to move forward, some of them just got to go, okay? Because they are garbage. Some of them just got to go, okay? And because I don't wish death on nobody, I'd rather for the boys to come and get them and take them and make sure they get life. Okay, they'll have time to meditate on how they destroyed their own life because they felt like they was God trying to destroy somebody else's life. Okay, my grandmother used to say the devil would mess himself up trying to mess you up, and a lot of them mess their very own selves up. Okay. So Govan says that Yo Gotti, okay, as if Yo Gotti is God. Who died and made Yo Gotti God? Okay. So I guess that's one of the places that they have him in. Govan and all of them had him in a high place of being God, I guess, because they felt like he had something that he could give them when Yo Gotti was not the source. They put him in a position that they should have had God. See, he tapped into who the real God was when he was praying because he knew Yo Gotti couldn't free him. There was something else higher than Yo Gotti. Okay. So I believe he had the opportunity to tap into that source, but now he has yet put Yo Gotti back in a place that he had God because he's saying he should have, if he had talked to Yo. Why would Dolph want to talk to Yo Gotti and have a man with Yo Gotti, a friendly enemy that would have gotten close to him to kill him anyways? After they had shot him, tried to kill him, and all of those things that they had tried to do to him, hell, he wouldn't himself want to make amends with nobody like that. Okay. So why would he want to make amends with somebody that had tried to take his life, that had tried to take his livelihood by going behind his back, which is why Dolph was mad. That's why he was having those outbursts and putting all those things in their songs, because they was throwing rocks and hiding their hands and going behind his back and going to radio stations and trying to pay them not to pay his music and going to industry people and telling them not to work with him. So now you fucking with my livelihood. You don't want me to eat. So I wouldn't want nothing to do with a Negro like that either. And if Govan them gonna tell the truth, they wouldn't either. Okay. But he goes on to say, I want to pull up OG Jacario just a little bit, okay? OG Jacario, don't strike at me. He finds the good stuff. You could tell he has time to kind of go through certain things. I'm gonna play Paul Hagerman too, but I want to play OG Jacario right quick, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button, okay? And I want to play where Govan. Hold on one second. I want to play where Govan is talking about Dolph will still be alive. Okay. So now he's saying God is God. The God would have let him lived if. And that makes me mad. Okay. So yeah, let's look at this. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Here it is right here. Shout out to OG Jacario. Okay.
We already established the fact that if he didn't wasn't in that car that day, he'll probably still be alive. If he would have accepted the invitation to get on the phone with Gotti, he could still potentially be alive.
Okay. Now you hear his voice even changes. If you had just did with our Lord and God and Savior and Jesus Christ, aka Gotti, because he's got the money to help us. Okay. If you had just did what he had said, as if Gotti was everybody's God, he'd still be alive. Now, you say that, you still putting Gotti in a place. Gotti don't give no life, but he's the God. He takes the life because he pay us the damn fools because we'll do anything for some money. If he push that button and give us the crumbs, that wasn't even worth it. Okay. Then we're gonna go and take your life. If, if you had just did with okay. That's one of the issues that I have, you guys. I think that I don't know it's something going on with StreamYard, okay. But now what he has been doing is you know, I think I told you all this some weeks ago when there is a double jeopardy law. There are double jeopardy laws, okay? And so he has been tried by the state. And as far as those charges that he was tried for via the state, he can never be tried again. Okay. But when you start talking about federal situations, they have a different set of statutes. They have a different set of statutes. So it gets a little tricky with that. And that's all I'm going to say. I spoke about that a couple weeks ago. Okay. They have a different set of statutes. And whereas you think that you can't be tried for something, they have a different set of statutes to justify why they are trying you for something. Okay, that you thought that you couldn't be tried for anymore. Now, do I believe that they're going to try Govan? I don't believe that they're going to try him for Young Dolph murder. I don't know, but I don't believe that the feds would try him for that particular situation. Okay, not for that particular situation. Um, Yo Gotti and them, I don't think they're going to be as lucky. But one thing that Govan and people say what he's starting to do, where they did it at the trial. His attorneys asked, "Where is Jook and Yo Gotti?" And then Manny says, "You know, Jook didn't have the money to pay for this hit." Okay, he didn't have the money to pay for this hit, but his brother Yo Gotti is wealthy. He would have the money to pay for it. So Manny is a lawyer, and lawyers are very meticulous about what they say. Manny wouldn't just blurt that out there knowing that he could possibly get sued, right? So there's something there, whereas if Yo Gotti had tried to go after him, he wouldn't be bothered. He wasn't bothered about saying it. He didn't say allegedly. He just put it out there. Okay? And attorneys are very meticulous. He put out there that Art Horn was the one that paid some lawyers. He put all of that out there. Manny didn't just think that up. His client told him that, right? So when people say he's starting to put the blame at Yo Gotti's feet, I mean, I believe that happened during the trial. They wanted to say that he was the payor, which I told y'all this from the very start that he was charged that he was not the payor. I can't blame him. He put the blame where it was supposed to be. And he didn't put it on Jook, because Jook bank accounts were seized and all of that. They're able to look into how much money goes in and out of Jook bank accounts. And they knew he couldn't have paid for this hit. Okay? I'm thinking about that $1 million that vlogger says that he bragged about getting 6 months. They claimed Jook was bragging about making $1 million 6 months after Dolph was killed, because he took over a lot of Dolph's territories as far as the jails and selling, the weed and stuff like that, allegedly. Okay. But I mean, I think about it now. Jook was a worker. Jook might have been paid the $1 million, and Govan what he wanted to give him, and Govan paid 2 dudes he recruited what they wanted, because Jook was a worker too. Now he was not the payor; he was the direct contact from Yo Gotti and whoever these other people were. And I do believe that he made $1 million. He probably got $1 million off of that too. Gave Govan a half $1 million, okay, or something like that. And Govan gave Cornelius he didn't give Cornelius nothing. Okay, they decided they won't give him none. Okay, they decided they was gonna kill him, and it didn't work out that way. Okay, and so then he went on to talk about how Keyglock spitting in Jook's face is what the thing that pushed that button. Well, if you look at what Paul Hagerman said, Paul Hagerman says that there was a meeting that took place that June or July when Straight Drop got out of jail. He had already been given a mission to take them out. And I just think that they was going to take out his, if they could, they thought it would be harder to get him. So they were just going to start taking out his artist who was still in the city first, to discourage the man, to lure him into a war. Now, Govan says that, said something nobody else ever heard, because I was told that there was a little shooting that happened down by the FedEx Forum, not where he's talking about, where a car was shot up on a busy street on Winchester. Didn't he say that? That's the busiest street in Memphis. Okay. And Yo Gotti's car was supposedly shot up full of holes. Let me pull that up. Ain't nobody never heard that but Govan. So I wonder if it was him that shot it up. Okay. Because nobody else ever heard that. And he said, Dolph, no, he did. How the hell Dolph, no. How can he say Dolph, no, he did it? How can you make those accusations? Okay. I know you didn't see him do it. And so when people make those strong accusations and he claimed he don't know Gotti and all of them, they need to believe he did it. Okay. Let's see. OG Jacaria. Hell, you talking about a busy ass street like Winchester, and ain't nobody never heard that. No police officers never said anything about that. People saw, if somebody was riding down Winchester shooting up a car, Gotti ain't got to call the police because that's the hood now. Everybody that see it gonna call. Okay. And ain't nobody never heard that.
If he wasn't in that car that day, he'll probably still be alive. If he would have accepted the invitation to get on the phone with Gotti, he could still potentially be alive right to this day. I had something to do with Dolph being killed. Because if I did, who gonna do something? Because if I did, who gonna do something? What happened to the 100K?
Now he said if he did, who gonna do something? Okay, that don't sound like a man who. That sounds like a man full of hate, just as much hate. And I think it had a lot to do with jealousy as well. And Dolph not doing something that he wanted them to do.
But you shot late. How late? This is the Rundown Podcast.
Such as one signing straight drop.
Rundown. I'm gonna give you the rundown.
Hernandez Govan just did another interview. He said something very, very suspicious, saying that if Dolph would have had accepted the opportunity to squash the beef with Yo Gotti, that he'll still be alive to this day. But Govan didn't stop there. He brought up more situations that gave motive to CMG Gotti and the brother of Gotti, Big Jook, who's now deceased, would have had to kill Dolph. Wow. Say, man, hey, man, it's OG Jacario. I'm back at you.
Now, let me just say this.
Like the last.
He claims that Keyglock and Jook getting into it in the airport was the reason. They had already plotted this. They knew they had plotted this back in July. He says that situation with Keyglock happened a couple weeks before. You know, it's almost like they're trying to tell Keyglock, you got your man's knocked down. Nah, that's why we knocked him down. They wanted to kill him anyways because they was gonna do it anyways because there was a history of doing it. Keyglock ain't had nothing to do with that. Jook and them went messing with the boy who was young enough to be his damn grandson in the airport when he really should have left him alone. And they say he spit in his face. Who's to say Jook then spit in his face first? Govan is not going to say that. Okay? So he might have spit back in his face. Who knows? But you got a group of dudes with you and you all decide to mess with this young dude. I don't know what happened. All I know is whatever it happened, they shouldn't have been messing with him. That's how I feel about that. Okay? And it's a damn shame that you got a bunch of damn fools constantly pushing a narrative. This is how you know that this man has a lot of evil in his heart and he needs some deliverance. Okay? As if it was this man's fault because he had an issue with these damn folks because it ain't had nothing to do with Gucci Mane. It had everything to do with what Paul Hagerman said and what Young Dolph said. This man started going behind the scenes trying to stop this boy from eating. Okay? By trying to block him because he wouldn't sign with him. That's it. That's all. And he was able to persevere because he already had money, so he could use his own money to invest in himself. He couldn't stop him. If they could have stopped him, they would have laughed at him like they did Boo Dirty. He wasn't trying to kill Boo Dirty, even though they say it was shots fired. Okay. He felt like Boo Dirty was beneath him because the Young Dolph was making traction. They was jealous of him. They wanted what he had. Yo Gotti ain't have all that shit when Dolph was flossing and flexing. He was still a local joker trying to get Rich Lord and by the way, he blocked him too. Okay, to protect him. I looked at Rich Lord's because Rich Lord's brother, he a shooter too now, but he a good guy. I like him. Freddie B. Run with my cousins and them. They some street dudes. Okay. Good guy. But I was looking at Rich Lord's some of his last tweets on his Instagram or on his Twitter. And one of the last tweets he made was, if you can't call me to eat, don't call me to beef. I ain't jumping in the midst of these niggas shit no more. And they don't want to help me. That was the same year, about a month or so before he was killed at what Yo Gotti's cousin's club. And it's funny because or it's either Yo Gotti's cousin or it's his manager. Okay. Um, it's funny because I remember I got kind of curious about Rich Lord. Rich Lord used to be my Facebook friend. And it's funny because I laugh about this because um he used to say all praises to the Lord. And I remember I used to like the posts, okay, and put praying hands. I didn't know that they were vice lords. I didn't know that's something they said. Okay. And I remember that he had reached out to me about coming on my show. And I mean it's just weird. It is. And I ended up reaching out to my cousin Reggie. And I saw where he had been communicating on one of his Facebook pages with my cousin Reggie. Reached out to him and Reggie called me, and Reggie one of the ones that quiet, don't say nothing. He in the streets so heavy. And he was like, "What's up, cuz? You know, you." I said, "Yeah, you know." I was like, he was like, "Yeah." I said, "You know, Rich Lawrence." Like, I said, "Oh my God, Lord have mercy." The poor guy didn't have a chance. Reggie and them raising him. And so, Reggie started telling me about, Rich Lord didn't want to go to the club that night. And his friend, Top Head or A Top or something they call him, I can't think of his name, kept calling him until he got him up out the bed because he was in the bed asleep. He kept calling him until he got him up out the bed, and he got up out the bed and went to the club. He got to Yo Gotti's manager's club. It's either his manager's cousin, and that particular night, they told him he couldn't bring his weapon in. And I specifically remember Reggie saying, Rich Lord knew better. He knew we didn't do that when, and Reggie them a lot older than Rich Lord. He's his brother's age, Freddie B. And he said, Rich Lord, no, that was the time to turn around and leave when they told him he couldn't bring his weapon in. Okay. But he went back and took his weapon to the car. His family sued and was able to get, believe, a few $1,000,000 from that club, his mama and them, because whoever it was that shot him, those dudes were able to bring their weapon in. Okay. So, I mean, it's something weird about that. But, I mean, there are rumors about him blocking. He Rich Lord thought that Black Youngster was going to sign him. And there are rumors that God had stopped that. But as he wanted Rich Lord and them to protect him whenever he was doing video shoots and stuff in Memphis. It's a lot of stuff with that. But rest in peace to Rich Lord, okay? He was very smart, very methodical. He had a scholarship, he was tall enough to be a basketball player, should have been one. A very tall, handsome young man, but he had also an academic scholarship for a full ride to Christian Brothers, and anybody can get into Christian Brothers. So he was very smart, very methodical, and he taught himself Arabic. He just extremely smart. And I was looking at some of his posts where he had a movement where he was trying to promote Black businesses, right? So he had the right idea. He was just around a lot of the wrong dudes. Because when I think about my cousins and them get money, but I wouldn't want my son around them. Like, I mean, just hanging with them, like family stuff, of course. He good to the kids and stuff, but as far as being around him every day, I wouldn't allow it. I wouldn't. If I had a son, I wouldn't allow it. Okay. But there have been other people that he blocked. Okay. And so Young Dolph just had the money, him and Daddy was out there doing whatever they was doing. He had the money to push himself. So that's something. Gotti, his money was longer than Gotti's. Okay. So after Young Dolph was killed, that's when we started seeing Gotti, but with Jay-Z more, because Jay-Z said, I'm a business. He charged people to take pictures with him, millions. Okay. It wasn't because he loved them. That helps to take their stock up. Okay. And I don't blame him. Okay. He said, I am a business. Okay. And so, all this stuff, this is what they do. This is what so I don't know who it was. Okay, other than Gotti and some of them other ones that sit right, but that are on the same level with him. that wanted him gone that the police be talking about. I don't know. I believe might have been some people in some closed doors that we don't get to see that may not have told him to do it, but maybe approved of it because Young Dolph was teaching these brothers the game. Govan and them should be ashamed of themselves that you take a damn gym out like that because you jealous. So that the white devils in the back rooms that keep these young dudes like straight drop in bondage can continue to keep them in bondage. Yo Gotti sold out to him. That's when he got, they started giving him them big credits. Okay, because he cash poor. He got a good credit line. Okay, and he's been signing these dudes now like Glorilla. He signed all them, get the rights to their names, the right to their music, and that's how he creating his generational wealth now, about continuously making a fool out of these young dudes and young girls. And Young Dolph was speaking out and letting them know what it was to teach them another way so that they didn't have to be slaves. Okay, and Govan and them helped to take something out like that. Okay, that's the reason why I know that they got to get their payback. They got to get it back, and they'll get it back on the back end. Okay, and we almost to the back end. We almost to the back end of this. Okay, they'll get it back. They wrong, but for this man to be constantly doing interviews, gloating, well, if he had not did this to Yo, who died and made Yo God? Okay, somebody he claimed he don't even know. But let's listen to a little bit more of this. I don't want to make this video too long because we already at 41 minutes of it. Y'all know once I ain't been on in 3-4 days, so I got a lot of hot air inside of me. I need to blow out. Okay.
Hernandez Govan, the alleged mastermind in the Young Dolph murder trial, who was acquitted on all those charges.
He wasn't a mastermind, but he was definitely, I believe, an instigator. The masterminds to me are the people who wanted him dead, who paid to have him killed. The idea started with them, but he was definitely involved.
Been going on an interview campaign talking about the situation with Dolph and everything that went down, and he's still maintaining his innocence throughout it all. And you can't help but to notice that in these interviews that Govan is giving, he's saying things as if he's placing the blame on Dolph, saying this is basically Dolph's fault for being killed. Had he not been in that camouflaged car, had he squashed the beef with Gotti when the opportunity presented itself, had Keyglock, one of Dolph's artists, not spit in the face of Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook, right? Had Dolph not sent out some shooters in an Infinity to catch up with Gotti.
Infinity. Okay. Down Winchester. I believe that's what he said. Down Winchester in an Infinity. And it ain't never been no 911 calls talking about Yo didn't tell nothing. And all them Negroes that be on Winchester, as busy as Winchester is, nobody else was hit. Nobody called the police. Police have no records of it. That's weird to me. Now I did hear about a situation that happened downtown when he was doing a video downtown. Okay. When he did that little video, he's talking, I got a house on Riverside. I forget the name of it. There was a situation that happened there. Okay. Somebody came and said it was Black Youngster. I don't know. But they can't say Dolph did that. It could have been anybody. Black Youngster is in a gang, and Gotti is too. He's a vice lord. It could have been anybody. They gyp everybody out their money. It could have been anybody. Okay. So how can they just say it was Dolph? No, they wanted to kill him. So if they were in at Privé in the conference room having meetings to have the boy killed in June, if that situation happened a few days before he was killed, they was gonna kill him anyways. So that's totally asinine. That has already been proved. I don't even know why he's saying that. It just goes to show how involved he was. And maybe that's how he's able to deal with his conscience. Okay, he's put himself in a godlike position too. If he had just did what we wanted, which is not be successful, not exist, and give us what we wanted, and bow down to our God who gives us the crumbs, which is Yo Gotti, he'd still be alive. But God says, when I get him back, you're gonna witness it. And I think we all gonna get the opportunity to witness the get back. He already know it's gonna come up again. And he said the feds ain't got nobody else to charge. I can't believe Manny didn't run that down to him, how that works. Okay. But maybe he did. Maybe that's the reason why he giving Yo Gotti the blame that he's due. That's the only thing he's doing right. Okay. He's letting it be known that Yo Gotti had motive. Because see, I get to thinking about all of these opportunities that Govan is getting now. Um, I wonder if somebody has made some calls to some and then they've talked to the Charleston Whites or whatever. Yeah, go ahead and link up with him. Gotti can I guess can do that. He got connections in the industry. Maybe that could be his way of giving him the rest of that money that maybe they haven't gotten. They didn't get a chance to get. We pay him through that way because he know he is being watched heavily. Okay. When they was trying to funnel that money through 0% or whatever they call them, 0%. That's weird. That's something else within itself. These people got so many conspiracies and so much stuff going on. It's ridiculous. But one thing Govan don't want, he wanted to be known that he was not the mastermind and he was not the payor. Okay, because he knows that is going to come up again. And he is right on a federal level. Okay. Anyway, so guys, I've been on here for almost an hour talking about that. We'll talk some more about it. Y'all know I haven't been on, and I have not been on in 3-4 days because I've had so much going on. But we are at the end of the semester, y'all, and I think I got one more little thing, one more assignment in each class, one more, and that's to fill out some paperwork or whatever about the class and all of that. So that's really easy. So we'll have about 2 or 3 weeks for me to be on here talking all types of mess before summer starts. Summer school is very fast paced. So, hey, I'm going to really be busy with that. Okay. It is very fast paced. And your girl going to get her degree and then the sister going on to law school. Okay. And so I've been just very pleased and happy with a lot of, the blessings that God has put before me. I'll be in a clinic. We're having a clinic. That's something I'm going to be doing with the community, with the lawyers next month. I'll let you all know. It'd be very beneficial to you all as it relates to some warrants, as it relates to helping you with those warrants. But anyways, you guys, I want you guys to please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to support the channel, you could definitely support the channel. What did I do? I messed around and put some. I guess I'm gonna have to talk to you all because my computer don't want to let me be great. Okay, here it is right here, y'all. I love you guys. Y'all be blessed.
Talk with Tamara, where conversations are real, voices are heard, and the real starts here. The real starts here. The real starts here. No filter, no fear. Truth in the mic, let the whole world hear. Stories unfold, voices sincere. Welcome to the place where the real starts here. From life and love to the latest news. Community voices, different views. Breaking it down so we all stay clear. Honest conversations live right here. Speak it true. Let it be. your voice has